Good evening, everyone. We're still here. We're still surviving. It's election day, local election day, and everyone has now declared across Scotland. So we know the results of all the council counts. Abby, my colleague, is over in Glasgow still at the Emirates Arena. You've had a very busy day, haven't you, Abby?
I have, yeah. The only people left in the Emirates Arena are now staff who are cleaning up and the journalists. Everyone else has gone home.
Journalists are always last to leave. They're getting kicked out at the end normally.
Yeah, I think we're going to be here for a couple of hours yet, just getting everything done because everything happened very one after the other. So yeah, it's been a crazy day. I've spoken to Nicola Sturgeon as well, so we'll have something up on that later. But we're just kind of trying to get our head around what's been going on. So obviously, Steph, you know a bit more about the overall picture than I do because I've been very Glasgow focused today. So what's going on? The SNP are winning almost, aren't they?
So the SNP have done extremely well. Helpfully, our colleague Xander has put the final results up on our live blog for us, which you can go and see at thenational.scot. So the SNP have won 454 seats. That's up 23. Labour have gone up 19 with 281. The Tories are down 62 seats to 215. Independents have also gone down. That's quite interesting. Down 50 to 152. The Lib Dems have had some gains, 87 seats. That's up 20. And the Greens have got 34, which is up 15. So it's a really good result for the SNP. They've obviously got the largest number of councillors, and they gained majority control of Dundee, which I think they were close to anyway last time. But for them to actually get it in an STV, vote is quite incredible. And Labour did the same in West Dunbartonshire. So two of those. It's extremely difficult to get a majority in STV because it's the whole idea of it is it's supposed to not cause that. So it's kind of breaking the system a bit. So that's kind of the overall picture. I think that the biggest thing out of the day is probably how the fortunes of the Tories have turned around. Obviously, they kind of did they have like a record result 5 years ago? I think they did really well.
They've been on the up for a while, essentially, as the kind of unionist vote, and Labour have kind of been falling, but now today it's as if it's flipped, essentially. But Labour have definitely benefited from Partygate. I actually asked Anas Sarwar. I spoke to him earlier. We did a little print huddle, so unfortunately I don't have a video of that. But I did ask him if he thought Douglas Ross did him a favour. And he said that he didn't think he did it intentionally, but he did do him a favour by U-turning on, supporting Douglas Ross, supporting Boris Johnson, because obviously Douglas Ross had called for Boris Johnson to resign when the first Partygate stuff came out. Then he U-turned on it, basically backed himself up against a wall. And I think it's undoubtable that it's had an impact. I think Douglas Ross is going to have a very difficult weekend.
So the Tories lost a huge amount of councillors in Edinburgh. It's their worst result there since 1972. So really, really bad there. The only place they've sort of made gains are like Moray and Aberdeenshire.
They've even lost in the Scottish.
Glasgow, if you say either.
Yeah, well, there's only 2 Tory councillors in Glasgow now, and I think there were 7. So a lot of that vote has gone to 7 last time, 2017. So a lot of that vote's gone to Labour because it was right down to the line here. We were waiting, and it was 35 SNP, 35 Labour. Before the last word was called, which had 3 candidates in it. So we were just waiting to see who walked out of the curtain to figure out who'd won the election, which was right up to the line. And it was 2 SNP. And actually the SNP candidate who won it is Abdul Bastani, and he's also a refugee. So he told me, I was speaking to him, and he said that he's never been so stressed in his life because not only was he the last ward, but he was the one that was going to win it. So
that's a big deal when a refugee says they've never been so stressed in their life.
I know. Might be an exaggeration. I have the full quote and it will be in a story later. But yeah, he did say it was a very stressful moment in his life that he was having to kind of, deal with that. But, they came out, him and his all the other candidate were having a great time. The SNP were all shouting, screaming. So yeah, it's been a very dramatic day here overall.
That's great for him. And so everyone's declared. Everything's kind of wrapped up really. And we're just Abby's just finishing off in Glasgow. So
trying to get our heads around.
What's your kind of review of the day been? How's it been for you? Has it been?
Yeah, I mean, it's having a Glasgow Folk Counts quite a lot. There's a lot of running about involved because we're up in the sticks, as I think I said this morning, so we have to run about. So a lot of the time you're just kind of looking at what colour band Rosette is coming out of the curtain, which you can see better from up here than you can if you're down on the floor, because I'm 5 foot tall. So if you're standing behind all the people, you cannot see who's coming out the door. And the tannoys have been a bit strange. We've not really been getting like the numbers and stuff, and they've been a bit slow to come out, so there's been a bit of confusion on the floor about what's going on sometimes. But yeah, it's been a dramatic day because it's been quite up to the line, and the Tories were obviously not looking happy this morning. The Greens were ecstatic. They were happy.
Yeah, it's been a great day for the Greens, hasn't it? They've really enjoyed themselves. They've sent out an email earlier just basically inviting everyone to George Square tomorrow at 11 a.m. pretty much to have a celebration. I think.
I don't think they were expecting it. I think they thought they were going to do all right, but the fact that Holly Bruce, who standing alongside, won on first preference votes over Susan Aitken, I don't think anybody was expecting that to happen. No. I mean, Holly's a 28-year-old woman, she's like young. Susan Aitken's the council leader. But yeah, I mean, there's going to obviously be some discussions over the weekend because the SNP still don't have enough councillors to form a majority. And I did ask Susan Aitken about that, and she said there will be some discussions, but she can't say any more about what will come out of them, as usual. But those discussions are going to be going on around the country. And we actually asked Anna Sarbar if he would consider, is he going to go for the Greens? Because really, they're going to have to fight to see who the Greens are going to go with. But the Greens are in government with the SNP at Holyrood level, and Susan Aitken said that they promised to give first preference to the largest party to open discussions with, and she said she's going to hold them to that. So it's basically the Greens are holding the power in Glasgow, even though the SNP have won, because they still don't have majority. So it's been a very interesting day.
The balance of power,
yeah, and also the Greens are. A lot of the candidates are very young, and they also had the first trans women elected in Glasgow. They're a very diverse group, so the fact that they've done well here just kind of shows that Glasgow is a progressive city, that they're happy to do that. And also Kim Long, who was one of the kind of more prominent Green councillors, Anthony Carroll, he's only 25, I believe. I interviewed him for one of the profiles that we did. He's got in Denniston, took over her seat as well. So they've kept seats and they've made gains, and it's just been, I think, they're probably the biggest winners of the day in Glasgow, to be honest. Because Labour, despite the fact that they've done quite well, they still didn't beat the SNP, and they put a lot of effort into it. And this is what Nicola Sturgeon said, that they chucked the kitchen sink at it, and they got close, but they didn't win. So.
Yeah. I think it would have been representative of quite a turnaround for Labour if they'd got Glasgow in the end. Just to talk about Alba for a second, because we didn't get a single Alba councillor across the country. I mean, I was sort of convinced they might get one, but it really has turned the way that Holyrood did. A lot of councillors who defected to Alba from the SNP have lost their seats, and they haven't managed to get any new candidates either. Alex Salmon says he's undaunted. And Chris McElhenney told me as long as the constitutional debate dominates Scottish politics, there'll be a place for Alba. What do you think, Abby? Did you expect them to get anywhere?
I don't think so. I mean, I think that this is it's a very difficult thing to talk about, because Alba obviously are, they're always like, hold on, how do I explain this? I'm like, how do I explain this? So yeah, I think that Alba, I think that they're kind of, that's 2 elections in a row where they've lost out now. I don't think there's an appetite for the kind of party at the extent that they thought they did when they created it. I don't think that I don't think that as many people are as concerned about the GRA in real life and things like that the Alba Party have been discussing. And I think that is showed quite clearly here by the fact that the Greens, who are also a smaller pro-independence party, have made significant gains. So I think what it really says about the independence movement is that is on a more progressive track, because obviously SNP supporters are willing to, or pro-independence supporters are now willing to give their first preference votes to Greens and to SNP too, which maybe 5 years ago that would not been a thing. That just would not have been. So I think it does, signal that we'll just have to see what they do. I don't think Alex Salmon's going to go anywhere, but I don't think that they're going to, I think the next one will be the general elections to see if they lose their 2 MPs or not, because that's all they've got now, right? Isn't it? Because they don't have any councillors.
Yeah,
so the two
that is all that they have.
Yeah.
I mean, the big losses for Alba were Brian Topping, who's been a councillor in Aberdeenshire since the 1980s. A real sort of local servant. He lost his seat. I think he was quite close, but and then Chris McElhenney, the General Secretary, lost his seat in Inverclyde, and as did his dad, Jim. Once you heard them, there was really no chance after that.
I think we all thought, if anyone, it was going to be Chris McElhenney. Basically.
He's been a councillor for 10 years, so and he is quite well known locally. But I think what he said was Alba were not able to get enough first preference votes, and there was a bit of second and third, but they just didn't benefit from it. Chris McElhenney, all the councillors in his ward got in on first preference votes, so he just didn't benefit from the transfer that happens with STV. I think they'll stick around, and I think they'll go again. But I think your analysis was very good there, Abby.
So hard to do that off the cuff, but I'm glad you liked it. Thank you. It's definitely been an interesting day, particularly amongst the independence parties, because we had Holyrood last year, and even in the space of a year, the Greens have made significant gains. But I do think that partially that is because of the cooperation agreement. I've spoken to some of the rural Greens who said they were getting more recognition on the door during the campaign. So that's obviously played a part, and I think actually Susan Aitken said that as well, that she thinks that that's given them a bit of a bolster to the vote too. But the SNP are happy that they've kept Glasgow, even if the results, Nicola Sturgeon still sees it as a win, and the Tories have done really badly, which I don't think is a surprise to anybody either.
No, I thought it was really interesting how Douglas Ross was clearly saying, people haven't turned out to vote for us because of Partygate, but he still wouldn't quite go there to say, Boris got to go, which is what he said before. Him and Ruth Davidson have really pointed the finger down south. But
No, I think Douglas Ross has got to accept that if your voters haven't come out to vote for you, then there's an issue, because that is the whole point of your voting support base.
If he had said Boris needs to go and he'd stuck with that, I think that would have made
them there.
I'm not saying it would have made the whole difference, but I think it would have made some difference.
I agree. I think that he backed himself into a corner with U-turning on the U-turn of whatever U-turn he U-turned on. That's kind of how it feels like with Douglas Ross at this point. You're like, where are you standing now? Like, you've kind of lost any sort of credibility that you and Ruth have built up over the years, because they were, Project Ruth, as Anna Sarwar was calling it.
Yes, I was just going to say, Anna Sarwar said that had died. It was done.
It's dead, it's over. So I think he's saying the nasty Tories are back. That's what Anna Sarwar's saying. So, it's definitely been an interesting day, a little bit of a more exciting local election than I think everybody thought it was going to be,
absolutely. The amount of breaking stories that came in, Highland Council was another one that was quite mad as well, because the largest group on the council for the first time isn't made up of independents. The SNP turned 22 councillors. So that's a biggie, because you go past Perth and party politics starts to disappear, apart from probably in the northeast. The Highlands and Islands party politics is not as huge a deal. As we know in the Western Isles
even in the Western Isles, 2 SNP women got in. So unexpected, because obviously, not completely unexpected, but there were 8 candidates, and only 8 female candidates, and only 2 of them were SNP. It was both the SNP ones that got in, and in the Western Isles, it's actually usually independents that do better. So I had thought maybe if any of them get in, it might be one of the independent candidates, but it's both SNP. So that's very interesting in the Western Isles, because, as you say, anywhere past a certain point, if you're in one of the rural places, very hard to get in on party politics. And the Greens actually did quite well in Shetland, though they didn't get a seat. Now, I'm not completely up on this. I don't think they got a seat, but their vote share did increase. And it was the same in the Borders, which is just crazy because these are areas you would not expect that to happen, essentially. I mean, I actually really need to find out what happened in Dumfries and Galloway because I've not even had a chance to look, and that's my hometown. So,
Dumfries and Galloway. I've got it on my screen.
Oh, you
here,
got
it.
Great. So, you can tell me on the live.
Yeah, I can. So the Tories remain the largest group in Dumfries and Galloway, holding on to all 16 of their seats. No change for the SNP, returning 11 as well. Labour suffered losses, dropping 2 seats, just 9 candidates. Lib Dems have kept their single seat, while Independents returned 6.
All right. So Laura Middy was kind of the green there that we thought might get in, so obviously she hasn't. But interesting that Labour's lost the vote share because that is a SNP Labour administration at the moment.
Yes, of course, yeah.
And interesting as well that the Tories didn't make any gains because they stood 2 candidates in every ward in Dumfries and Galloway.
Yeah, and they got a big vote down there. Well, interestingly enough, even in the borders, you can see that even though I think that they only lost 1 seat there, Tories, but even there, you can see that there's been a drop in their vote share in every ward. The highest was a 17.7% fall in East Berwickshire. So you can see even where they've got like a solid vote, people are going off them. So once you lose the Tories and the borders in Dumfries and Galloway, then
I know. I mean, it's just there's always been a very strong Tory vote in both the borders and Dumfries and Galloway, so that's just really interesting. It just kind of shows though that is across the board losses for the Tories. There's no way that Douglas Ross can spin this as anything less than an absolute loss. Like they've absolutely.
Yeah, I think they were trying. I think a few of them with the English results this morning. I think a few of them were trying to stay positive, despite the fact that the journalists were just saying, "Come on, like."
Yeah. Not all of them though, because there's Adam Tompkins not on, basically having a go at Douglas Ross really early this morning before they found out what was going on.
Was.
Former MSP Adam Tompkins, I believe. So yeah, former Tory MSP. So yeah, it's been a very interesting day. But hopefully for the people watching, we've caught you up enough on what's going on. And that you have got a bit of a better idea. So now I need to go and write some things. So we can read them later on the website, which should probably be a good idea. But yeah, we'll have lots of kind of coverage of the Glasgow count. We'll have some stories on, the Greens and how well they've done. I had a good 10-minute huddle with Nicola Sturgeon, so we'll have some, analysis from her on what's been going on, kind of overall as well. And then hopefully I'll be able to get my dinner at some point. That'd be great.
What's the dinner, do you think?
I don't know, probably McDonald's. If something's gonna get phoned and delivered to my door, I've not decided what it is yet, but it'll be something.
Someone is gonna get phoned and bring you food.
Somebody's gonna, I say phoned, it'll be on an app. But yeah. So I don't have to communicate with anyone.
Well, thank you for all your hard work, Abby. It's been great.
I know it's been good to chat to you today as well. So hopefully that's all from us.
All right, see you guys.
Bye.